right, we got 3 people in here. How's everybody doing? I apologize for my voice. I'm sick. Wait for some more people to join here. So yeah, my voice is going to sound more velvety, more baritone than my usual terrible voice this morning. So maybe that'll be a benefit to everybody. I don't know. We'll see. Hello, Barack. Hello, Antoine. How we doing? Let's go. Yeah, we got a big. I mean, listen, this is the tail end of the festive fixtures. This has been. It's been a lot, but it's been fun. Let's see here. I need one more thing. Oh yeah. One second, and then we'll get into everything. Sorry. Trying to send this out to all my different mediums to hopefully get people to join. Okay, we'll wait a little bit longer. What was I thinking about this morning? Yeah, so for the 5 people that are here right now, I've announced it on my Substack, but I'm going to be doing projections and a lot of stuff with the FA Cup. Typically, I wouldn't do much with it when I was at Action just because it was kind of a nice break. But I think it would be good. I really want to take a deep dive into doing projections for the FA Cup. With obviously, it's like the most unpredictable tournament out there. But I think that it would be something good to have going forward in the future as we go forward in the tournament. I don't have any action in these Scottish games. I think I need to avoid lower leagues for now after how yesterday went. Yeah. Who's playing right now? I haven't even looked. Okay. Oh, Rangers is playing Celtic. Maybe I'll pop that on here. Why don't I pop that on the old TV in front of me while we're doing this? Maybe we can live bet it together. That's another thing I wanted to talk about real quick before we get started. January, so after the FA Cup, we have midweek games Tuesday, January 14th, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm pretty sure that both the Tuesday and the Wednesday. Let me turn my volume down here. We don't need to be listening to some Scottish, although they do have great voices. I'll be doing live watch-alongs. So like during the slates, we can watch along together. And we can live bet. We can do a bunch of different stuff. So I think that'll be fun. All right, we got 12 people in here. So where do we want to start, guys? Do we want to start Liverpool United or do we want to start Tottenham and Newcastle? Because I think those are the 2 big ones this week. You tell me while I pull up this Old Firm. I did not realize the Old Firm was being played on a Thursday. That's weird. Sunday Cup final between PSG and Monaco. Is that a neutral site game? We're doing Spurs and Newcastle. All right. Is Monaco PSG, I'm assuming neutral site, right? Let's see. I'll do this Monaco PSG thing, and then we'll get going here. I know I'm wasting all of your time. What day is that Monaco match on? Is it on Saturday? Bank holiday traditionally. Okay, got it. That's why they're doing it. All right. Rangers just scored. Oh dang. Brendan Rodgers. Scottish Premier League. Why do I not have... What the heck? It's on Paramount, right? What the heck? Scottish Professional Football League. I think I might need a different one. It's on Sunday. Okay. Where is this Rangers match at? It's on Paramount, right? Am I wrong? Oh, you're just shooting off a book. Because Paramount covers the. I think I'm on the wrong one. I think this might be. Yeah, I can't find it. Oh well, it's okay. I need to pay attention to this anyway. CBS Sports Network. Okay, I'll pull up my YouTube TV then. All right, so let's start off with Spurs and Newcastle, and I'll get that Monaco thing for you, Antoine, here in just a second. Okay, Antoine, while I'm doing that, can you tell me if it's a neutral site game or not? And then I'll get started here. So, Tottenham Spurs. Everybody for Tottenham's backline is injured again. So the question is do I want to take a stab because this price is getting pretty crazy? And I think the answer is no. I don't really want to. The one thing I was looking at. So here's the problem. If you've watched how Newcastle has hurt teams that try to build up like United or Bournemouth or really any team in this run that has tried to build out of the back against them, they have punished them, and they are still incredibly good, high-pressing team. And Eddie Howe has kind of switched back to that a little bit more rather than let's just play a 4-5-1 mid-block. Okay, there we go. CBS. Yeah, there we go. All right, Rangers up 1-0. Okay. This is fun. All right. But I don't really see a scenario. Here's the problem with Tottenham. It's not just the fact that they don't have both Romero and Van de Ven available. It's the fact that not only are Jagishin and Archie Gray not the best defenders, but they're just not great with the ball. And same thing with Fraser Foster. That's a really bad recipe, whether you're facing Newcastle, even though it is Newcastle away from home. So I don't really want to take a stab at it. It's in Qatar. Is it Trophy des Champions? Is that what it's called? I don't really, although if you look at my projections, obviously they don't really take into account injuries, and with Ben Davies, Udogie, Romero, Van de Ven all out, I don't really want to, after what happened with my horrible decision with United, to do the same thing here with Tottenham. Sometimes you have to learn from your mistakes, and that's what I'm doing here. The one thing that was kind of interesting that I was looking through with this, if you wanted to find a higher price, I know this is obviously the lunchtime kickoff, early morning here kickoff in the United States. If you wanted to pair, let the previous meeting, what Newcastle did essentially was they picked Tottenham off goal time, scored, beat them in transition. But Tottenham peppered the goal a lot, and they took a ton of shots. They actually outshot Newcastle 20-9 in that game. Tottenham is about -105 right now at Bet365 to get the most shots in the match. So if you're looking for just something on the match, I think pairing that with maybe like a both teams to score and an over 2.5, you can probably get to around like 2. I think I was looking at it last night. You get to about 2-1. So if you want something for it, that's the route I would go. I do think there's a chance that Tottenham just peppers Newcastle's goal a bunch of times, a lot of low quality chances, and they just get beat and they give up a ton of high quality chances. But I think there's a real, I have Tottenham projected for about 15.6 shots, and I have Newcastle for 13.4. So if you want to do the math on it, it'd probably equate to like -108, -110, somewhere in that range. So you could make a case if you could find anything -105 or even money that might be a decent value. But other than that, I don't really have anything for this match. I just, again, in this game, sometimes you have to learn from your mistakes. And I am learning from my mistake that I made with United that I'm never going to do again. Red Sox off season. We didn't get Juan Soto, so that sucks. But hey, I love Crochet. He's gonna win the Cy Young. Okay, before we move on, we'll move on to Liverpool and United now that we're on them. But let me do this. Actually, I'll just talk while I'm doing it. So Liverpool and United. I think the main question here is the price getting too high? I don't care. I don't really want to take a dive in on United here. The problems that you saw against Newcastle are just, I mean, they played Casemiro and Eriksen as a midfield, which I did not expect to happen. I thought they would at least start Kobe Mainoo. I knew that Ugarte was suspended. Ugarte will be back for this match. But, oh my gosh, Rangers is on a break here. No, never mind. Good transition D there from Celtic. Long range effort. Deflection off the top of the goal. Oh my gosh. Amorim out. I mean, listen, he's been worse than Ten Hag, if we're being honest. Can we be honest for a second? Because he has, from a results standpoint. And yeah, we might see a lot of cards in Spurs and Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same issues with United. And if they're going to continue to try to build out of the back, if they're going to face a very physical Liverpool team that is becoming more and more aggressive with their man-to-man press, I don't really see a scenario how it goes well. The only like route that I see here to United, and I was maybe looking at playing under 3.5. I was thinking about it, but obviously Liverpool matches have been way more high event lately than and they have the start of the Arne Slot era. Potentially maybe looking at an under, because if you watch United against City, when they sit in that 5-3-2, they're actually pretty effective, and they do a really good job of denying space in the middle. Having Ugarte back along with Kobe Mainoo actually makes that pretty decent, right? And I hope he doesn't start Eriksen and Casemiro again. I hope he doesn't make that mistake. But traveling away to Anfield, there is obviously a snowball effect that can happen with this match. Once United goes behind, if they try to press man-to-man, I don't think that's going to work very well, because unlike Manchester City, who struggled against United's man-to-man press, Liverpool is incredibly good if you want to go man-to-man and by just hitting direct balls over the top. They did that over and over and over again. Tottenham, they will do it to West Ham. They'll do it to anybody. They're really kind of going back to the kind of the Klopp Liverpool and just having that Arne Slot type of control in their back pocket if they really want it, which makes them very difficult. Liverpool projected shots in the match. I have Liverpool, which if you subscribe to Substack, I'm working on getting these into like an edge screen so I can hopefully make them a little bit easier rather than just putting them out there. I have Liverpool projected for 23.2 shots. So, yeah, I don't really want to get involved here. I understand it's the biggest match of the weekend. If I were to play anything, I wrote this up under Amorim. United's defense has been better. Like under Ten Hag, they were allowing a little over 1.5 expected goals per 90. Under Amorim, it's down to like 1.25. The defense has been better, but again, that's that's playing a lot of teams that aren't at the level offensively of Liverpool, if we're being honest. So I'm passing on it. Again, sometimes in this game, you just got to learn from your mistakes. I'm going to learn from my mistake with United. I'm not going to try and get involved. Even if they get to +2, I'm not going to get involved. I have Liverpool's spread projected at -1.7. So right now we're at, my +2 at like -135. I don't really see a reason to get involved right now. So that's the two big matches. Let me do this. What do we want from the 10 a.m. window here? We have Villa, Leicester, Bournemouth, Everton, Palace, Chelsea, City, West Ham, or Southampton, Brentford. Which one we want to do first? While I do this cup final in France projection real quick. No. Southampton. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I thought there was a moment. There was like a moment where I was thinking about when George got hired. I was like, maybe I'll bet them to stay up. Maybe that would be the right way to go about things. I'm glad I didn't do that, because that was the wrong way to think about things. So this is an interesting one, because if you look at my projections, I have a lot of value on Brentford, and I mean, why not? I mean, look at Southampton's underlying metrics. Look at Brentford's, right? Like it's been one-way traffic for Southampton right at their net. And now they've lost 2 straight to West Ham and Crystal Palace, 2 matches they really needed results from. Oh my gosh, Celtic almost had one over the top there. Is that Furuhashi or Maeda? Okay. Antoine. I don't parlay around robin all my bets. I just play them straight. Will City rack up the scoring against West Ham also? We'll get to City and West Ham in a second. So Antoine, for the PSG Monaco, this is for everybody for the French Cup final. I have PSG minus 107, Monaco plus 278, the draw plus 350, or excuse me, 358, total at 2.8. Monaco spread at minus point. Hang on. What is that? Minus 0.61. So got Monaco at +1. So yeah, that's probably the way to go. I mean, they dominate. I mean, they were a better team against PSG recently before they've gone on this break. Okay. So Southampton, Brentford. Let me pull up my notes here. I like Brentford here, and I think the way to play them is their team total over 1.5 at, what was the best price I found on that? Over 1.5 plus 105 at DraftKings. So here's the thing: is I was a little bit hesitant when Juric came in over these Southampton totals. Is their defense going to continue to be bad? Obviously, if you look at his time at Torino, he had one of the best defensive teams in Serie A. Now, it's a much different league than the Premier League. It's not a very high event. It's very slow. It's very passive by nature for teams out of possession. So naturally, if he's going to have a team like Torino, they're going to have a lot of low-scoring matches. Now, the first couple matches here, he's been favoring that 5-4-1 that Southampton's been kind of switched to a little bit under Russell Martin, which has been pretty effective. But the reality is, are they really going to do that here at home against Brentford? Like, the situation is different for him. Right. If he was Torino, when he was at Torino, he was middle of the table trying to get into the Europa Conference League, right? He wasn't going against relegation. He had no threat of relegation, really. They need to get out, and they need 3 points, and they need to get him in a hurry, or else it's, he's not going to have a job by the end of the year. So that tends to make teams be a little bit more aggressive out of possession. And I think it is going to have Southampton go back to a little bit of what they were doing with their high press, especially here against Brentford. I mean, if you watch any film on Brentford, they struggle in build-up. Like, they're just not as good. They were okay against Brighton, but it's very nerve-wracking watching them try to build out of the back. You put that on top of that, Brentford's kind of going through a little bit of injury crisis on the back line. Pinnock is out. Mark Flecken is out. Ben Mee is out now. So it's probably going to be Sepp Vandenberg and Nathaniel Collins back line, which isn't bad. But when you have to play Rorislav, and I love Keane Lewis-Potter, but he's a winger. He's not a wing back. Having to play them in defensively, it just worries me, honestly. And I wrote this up in my Substack Best Bets article, which you can find now, that if Brentford wants to man-to-man press like they did in the previous meeting, they had a lot of success with it. That leaves them a lot of 1v1s, which doesn't really make me feel that good, if we're being honest. Southampton does have a very physical presence up top in Onachu. If that's how you pronounce his name. If it's not, I apologize. Big guy up front. He's been pretty good for them. Very good aerial threat for when they want to get the ball out wide, which is what they're going to do under Juric. Like, they're going to get the ball wide, and they're going to send a lot of crosses. So, but the worry here for Southampton is against West Ham and against Crystal Palace, who are two, let's be honest, not at the top tier offensive teams. They've conceded 3.7 expected goals. And against Crystal Palace, they basically conceded 2 goals off the result of set pieces. For the season, Southampton's allowed the most expected goals off of set pieces. Sometimes it doesn't take a managerial change to, managerial changes don't just fix set piece issues defending, right? It has to do with physicality and getting up and winning aerial duels. And the fact that, if Southampton can't do that, then that gives Brentford a huge edge here. I mean, Brentford scored off a throw-in in the last meeting. And who's to say they don't score another goal here off a set piece? So I like Brentford here quite a bit. Southampton hasn't been good at defending crosses. 15th in crosses allowed in the penalty area. Brentford 6th most offensively. So I think Brentford team total over 1.5 at +105 is the way to go. Projected Brentford for 2.17 goals. So I like the Bees quite a bit here. Their team total over 1.5 at plus 105. And then, if you go that way, then you don't have to worry about, the Brentford's defensive issues, potentially turning the ball in their own area. I'd rather just not worry about that. So, and I would say the edge on the projection is, if you were to account for injuries, it's pretty similar from team total to money line to draw no bets. So, so that's where I'd go with Brentford and Southampton. All right, let's do let's do Bournemouth and Everton next. I'm sorry. I know I think we have a couple Everton fans in the chat here, or at least I know a bunch of them. But yeah, the previous meeting, I think we need to talk about it. I know it was a long time ago, but one of the worst collapses ever in Premier League history by Everton conceding after going up 2-0, conceding 3 goals after the 86th minute was shocking to say the least. And the way they did it, I think, is important to note, because they completed 3 crosses like in quick succession and beat Everton. And what was happening in that match is basically Bournemouth is trying to build through the middle. It wasn't working because Everton is still really very good at denying space in the middle. So they just sent in a bunch of crosses, and Everton has been struggling defending them all season long, and it worked. And if you watch Bournemouth against Fulham, they're very, very good at getting 3v2s or 2v1s out wide, or playing quick succession passes to get and create chances from out wide. So far this season, Bournemouth has completed, hang on, let me just pull it up really here. They are top 5 in crosses completed in the penalty area. They're very good at attacking in wide areas. It's an interesting match in the sense of, okay, so I like Bournemouth. I like Bournemouth money line at minus 130 here is the bet that I'm going with. In a sense, you could say, all right, well, wouldn't Bournemouth have the same struggles that teams like Chelsea and Arsenal and City have had against Everton? Well, I would say not really, because of the way that they build in wide areas, right? So in theory, Arsenal also likes to build primarily through the wide channels, right? But what Arsenal doesn't really have in the box is a consistent aerial threat, which Bournemouth does have with Evan Nielsen. Chelsea, we'll get to them in a second. They struggle breaking down low blocks if they can't play through the middle. Manchester City, same thing. They just want to play through the middle. And so when Everton's able to deny that space through the middle, and these teams aren't really relying on crosses, I mean, Arsenal still completed 4 crosses in the penalty area on Everton, then that becomes an issue. But for Everton, they have conceded the highest percentage of crosses completed into their penalty area in terms of percentage. Total crosses completed, they're 17th. It's a problem. And I wrote this up that, Brantwaite was one of their best aerial duel winners last year. He hasn't been that this season. He's only winning 40% of his aerial duels, which is kind of concerning. So I think Bournemouth is going to have the ability to build out through the wide channels. They're going to sustain pressure in this match, very similar to how they did. Honestly, I think this match goes very similarly to how the Fulham Bournemouth match we just saw, except Everton is way more pathetic. Everton is way worse offensively than Fulham is. I mean, since November 1st, Everton's created 9.8 expected goals. That's the worst mark in the Premier League. They scored against City. They scored 4 goals against Wolves. Other, I think, 4 or 5 matches they haven't scored. So, I don't know. I think this is the first time I faded Everton in maybe ever. Because I don't like fading against my friend Leboff, and I've always had an affinity for Everton. But I mean, minus 130. I mean, that's a little low. I mean, Bournemouth against teams in the bottom half of the table this season have a plus 13.1 expected goal differential in 10 matches. They've been dominant. So I like Bournemouth here. I like them on the money line, minus 130. Yeah, I don't like fading Everton. I know that this will come back to bite me. I know it will. But yeah, I like Bournemouth quite a bit here. Sorry, my voice. Rangers is kind of dominating this match here against Celtic. All right. Okay. Let's move on to Chelsea and Crystal Palace. This is at Crystal Palace. I should probably start reading off the odds, right? Monaco 4 plus 400 pizza money. Yeah, I know, Antoine. I know how it goes. Trust me. I know how this game is played. I should probably start reading off the odds here. So Crystal Palace, Chelsea. Crystal Palace is plus 270. Chelsea's minus 110. The draw is plus 280. Total 3. Set it about plus 105. I like Palace here. I think there's a couple ways you can go about it. If you want to play both teams to score in over 2.5, I think that is has decent value. But I would rather play Palace here. So Chelsea, I think it's important to note why Chelsea has been struggling lately and the opponents that they've been playing. So they played Everton, and we know with Maresca, he wants his teams to build through the middle. He likes to create a 5-man midfield. Typically, it's with Lavia, Caicedo, Fernandes, and Palmer, and it can be a very difficult thing to defend, especially if Nico Jackson can drop deep, because then you have to pull center backs out of position. Ipswich went with the approach of, we're not pulling center backs out of position. We're just sitting deep, because they went up early, right? They went up the first 10 minutes. So I think that when you look at a team like Everton that's going to sit back and not going to do the same exact thing, it's going to do basically the exact same thing and not pull their center backs out of position. How does Chelsea break them down? Because they didn't do anything against Everton. They created 1.1 expected goals, I believe. Same thing against Fulham, another team that plays a very similar defensive low block type structure that they're going to see against Crystal Palace. That's a big. So let me just pull it up here, so I'm not talking out of my butt. So they created 1.1 against Fulham. Fulham was sitting in a 5-4-1, which is really the exact type of structure that Everton sits in when they get into their final third. And their last match against Ipswich, they did create 2 expected goals, but Ipswich is nowhere near good defensively structurally as both Everton and Fulham are. When Crystal Palace wants to sit in a 5-3-2 and 5 at the back and not allow Chelsea to overload the last line, Chelsea kind of gets stuck, right? Like it's becoming pretty clear that if they can't play through the middle, they don't have aerial threats in the box, and they're not going to be able to beat teams acrosses. I mean, look who has gotten on the end of their best chances off of crosses the last 4 or 5 matches. You know, it's been Mark Cucurella. Like that tells you that can just tell you exactly what you need to know. So I like Palace quite a bit here. I mean, I've said it before, but the ability of Glasner to replicate the Olise as a double number 10 in the 3-4-2-1 like they did last year with Ismail Sarr has been amazing. And it's made Crystal Palace a lot more dangerous, because you can pull center backs out of position with both those guys being able to drop deep and build up. But also Mateta has been able to get into that vacated space when you pull center backs out of position, right? Or even just getting Mateta into 1v1 situations is good if you want to push Eze and Sarr up to that last line of the defense, right? Oh my gosh, that guy just got drilled in the head. Oh boy, that was bad. Johnstone just speared a guy in the back of the head. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, with Chelsea, I really struggle to see how they're going to break down Crystal Palace's low block. I like Crystal Palace plus a half here at home, minus 105. I believe is the best price you can find. It looks like Lavia is going to be out, which hurts Crystal Palace, because when Maresca is able to play Lavia and Caicedo as a dueling defensive midfield pairing, it makes obviously teams in transit. It makes it almost impossible for teams to play in transition, and it allows Chelsea to play Fernandes in a more advanced role, which is good, because he has the ability to drop deep and build up and cause a lot of problems. Same thing with Palmer. So with Lavia out, that makes it a little more difficult for Chelsea. So So I like Palace here. I projected Chelsea at plus 112. So a little bit of value here on Palace. Plus a half, minus 105. All right, let's move on to let's talk about Fulham and Ipswich. Fulham is this is Sunday, by the way. Fulham is minus 175. Ipswich is plus 450. The draw is plus 320. Chelsea projected shots is, let me pull it up here, 14.2. So I like Fulham here. I like Fulham -1 at -102. Excuse me, minus 101 now at Bet365. I think people know now that I'm not a believer in Ipswich, and every time I watch them, I see some encouraging things, like trying to play more in transition. What I don't see encouraging is how their ability to defend in a low block. And if that's what they're going to do here against Fulham, I really struggle with their ability to defend in wide areas. I mean, Arsenal was constantly getting overloads in wide areas against them when they played them. Chelsea was trying to play through the middle, and actually were having a lot of success. They're receiving a ton of balls in the half space, in zone 14. Like it was, I'm not saying Chelsea should have won the match, but to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, Ipswich is back after beating Chelsea 2-0 when they scored a questionable penalty and then converted one transition attack is like, it's just not reality, right? Like they're still a relegation fodder team. They have the second worst expected goal differential behind Southampton, and they're at like minus 1.1 XG differential per 90 minutes. The previous meeting against Fulham, they created 0.4 expected goals off of 10 shots. And my question is okay, let's just say they decide, let's say they come out and they say, all right, we're going to build it out of the back against Fulham. We're going to try to beat them through the middle. And then we're just going to hopefully get a lead, and we're just going to sit back like we did against Chelsea. What if the reverse happens? What if they go down early? How are they scoring against Fulham? I noted this in my best bets article. From a losing game state, which has spent a lot of time in a losing game state this season, they're only averaging 0.88 expected goals per 90 minutes. That is unbelievably pathetic. And really what it comes down to is when you fall behind, it's how aggressive are you in possession? And Ipswich is not. They continue to try to build out of the back. They continue to try to build through the middle. And they don't try to make direct passes over the top, which is how you have to beat Fulham. Because you're not going to build through them. You're not going to build through the middle. You're definitely not going to beat them with crosses. So I think you have a situation here where I projected a little bit of value on Fulham, and I'm taking them. I don't see this Ipswich thing continuing to work, right? Like they've beaten Tottenham, they've beaten Chelsea, and everybody, I don't know if everybody wants to think they're good now. They're not. So I like Fulham here quite a bit. I like the -1 at minus 102. Again, I'm not really, Fulham against teams in the bottom half of the table, they've been okay. They haven't been really that dominant. And obviously it's a little bit worrying taking, a team like Fulham on a spread like this. But, you obviously have the ability to push if they just win by 1. But I like Fulham quite a bit here. I just don't see a route where Ipswich is going to create a lot of chances. And I don't really see a route defensively if they go behind. I mean, even if you want to look from an even game state this season, Fulham is about at a plus 0.6 XG differential per 90 minutes. Ipswich is like minus 1.2. Like, think about that. That's a pretty large difference. So yeah, I like Fulham here. That's Sunday. That was Sunday, excuse me. I should go back to the 10 a.m. window. That was my mistake. Sorry, everybody. Aston Villa, Leicester. Aston Villa is minus 300. Leicester's plus 750. The draw is plus 450. I have nothing here. I have it projected right around where the market has it. Duran is still suspended, although it doesn't really matter because they'll just play Ollie Watkins up top. But I mean, Leicester defensively has been horrible. Morgan Rogers is also suspended for this match, so that kind of hurts if you're thinking about playing Aston Villa. That kind of hurts. Pau Torres just went off with an injury as well for Aston Villa, so some injuries for Villa here coming up, which is not good. Mats Hermansen is out for Leicester, so there's just a lot of bad things going on here with both teams. And it's just really, again, if I have a projected route on the market with all these, very important injuries for both teams, this is a very easy game to just stay away from and just not deal with. All Rangers. Oh my goodness, that was so close. Rangers have been kind of dominant here. Dang. Anyway, so yeah, put in the chat if you have questions about any of those matches. But again, I just don't really have anything, close to the market. I mean, could you make a case, right? Because we know with Aston Villa that they are really good at building up through bad pressing teams, which Leicester has kind of done, kind of not done. They did do that against City. If they try to press Villa, is Villa just going to play right through them and just score repeatedly, right? That's the question. I guess you could make a case for that, but I don't really want to pay the price that Aston Villa is right now. So passing on that one. The last 9 a.m. one, City and West Ham. City's minus 334. West Ham is plus 650. The draw is at 5-1. Total is what, 3.5? 3.5 minus 110 both ways. City was not good against Leicester. And I don't know if anybody, I think people just need to realize that they're bad. I didn't write about the match, but if I were to, there was a tweet, a great follow, EPL Analytics, which tweets out a lot of great data visual stuff, tweeted out, and essentially all the data from like build up, pass per defensive action, like all of the identity metrics that we like to use between Leicester and City in the match were exactly the same. So Leicester at home, one of the worst teams in the Premier League, came with the approach of, we're going to be able to build out of the back, we're going to be able to press high, and we're just going to be able to do whatever we want against City. And they actually did it successfully. That is incredibly concerning if you are Manchester City. Now, the question is, what do I have West Ham? The only thing I was thinking about for this match was potentially looking at West Ham's team total because of how bad City's defense has been. They're minus 200 to score in this match, right? Both teams to score is an astronomical price again. It's minus 163. I think that there is definitely a route here for West Ham to score and maybe score 2 goals. Because, as you've seen with Manchester City, no matter what structure they decide to play, they're going to play 4 at the back. And they're going to play a high line. And with their press being bad with a lot of old players, when the press doesn't hit home, and teams like West Ham, for example, can play direct, it makes it a lot more difficult for them to defend those things. Bowen out with a fractured foot definitely hurts West Ham. But I've said this before. Signing Somerville in the summer, no pun intended, has been a really good thing for them, because if we had Kudus that was suspended for a while, you can play Kudus on the right and you can play Somerville on the left, and you can still have West Ham be incredibly dangerous. So that leads me to believe that West Ham is definitely live to score here. Now, I'm not paying minus 200 for them to score. I don't know why they haven't sacked Lopetegui yet. It feels like they're just kind of feels like they're kind of just waiting, right? Like they're just waiting for it to happen, like the bad result to happen, which they've had. They got they got pummeled by Arsenal and Liverpool, right? Now the case to me, I'm not making a case that West Ham can win this match because, quite frankly, they can't. If you look at how they've performed against Liverpool, their recent match, their other match against City, where they conceded 3 expected goals at home, and against Arsenal, like I think we're up to what? Probably 4 matches against Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal and City. Is that right? I said Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and City. So that's excuse me. Yeah, it's 4. No, 4 matches against those teams. They have conceded 11.2 expected goals by my math. Yeah, I don't see ability for them to defend the low block. So I'm passing on this match. If you wanted to play some alts, I would maybe look at like West Ham team total over 1.5. I would maybe look at both teams scoring over 2.5 is probably a very high price right now. So if you want to look at, let's see what the price is on that really quick before I move on. But yeah, I don't really have anything for this match. Let me see here both teams scoring over 2.5 is it's minus 125. That's interesting. Here, let me pull up and see exactly what let me run through my poison distribution for the Premier League and see if I have any value on that. My guess is going to be no. Let's see, where am I? All right, what match is this? This is, I think this is the one, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I don't have them marked. All right, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, yeah, that was the one. Okay, so both teams to score and over 2.5. Let's see exactly what I have projected at for this one. 28.7 plus 27. What's that? 27.2 plus 28. Excuse me, 27.2 plus 28.6 is what I said. 55%. So I have it right on. So I'm passing on it. Brighton and Arsenal. Oh, my phone's about to die. Sorry. I think the price is right here. I don't really want to get involved with Brighton. It's been interesting with Arsenal without Saka, how they've been approaching some of these matches. The first match against, excuse me, let me just pull up Arsenal stuff here. Sorry, I'm just pulling my Arsenal data in front of me. The very first match against Ipswich, in the first half, they were actually, if you look at the past maps comparatively between the first half and the second half, first half, they were trying to build through the middle against Ipswich. And then the second half, they kind of went back to their old ways and they were trying to build through wide areas. Then against Brentford, they kind of played a muted team, right? Like if you look at who they started, when I saw that lineup, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And they obviously conceded early. But again, a very dominant performance from Arsenal. Brentford had, 3 shots, what was it, 0.6 expected, 0.2 expected goals total for the match. So very dominant performance from them. I've watched Brighton a lot, and I can't decide if they're bad or if they're just average. And what I mean by that is when what Herzler tries to do, and this is where I think they might have some struggles here, is we got blood in the old firm. They're one of the few teams that are just try to vacate the space in the middle of the pitch and trying to play a lot of direct balls and get into 1v1s against opponents' back lines, which is a good thing, right? In some senses, that's a good thing, given the way the Premier League is going, right? With basically every team that you're going to face is going to try to press you high and disrupt your buildup. It's a good thing to have the ability to play direct balls over the top and win 1v1 duels, right? And they do that. Sometimes they build out in like a 5-5, which is weird. They'll even or like a 4-1, 5. And there's just a lot of weird different structures that he likes to use. But the main goal is to either get an overload or a 1v1 across that back line and play those direct balls. But largely, they haven't really been that successful. And if you look at, especially offensively, recently, here, let me pull it up. I mean, they didn't really do much. They didn't do much against Aston Villa in their previous match. Let's go from their 1-1 draw with Southampton on the 29th. That's probably a good barometer. So since their 1-1 draw with Southampton, Brighton has created 9 expected goals in 7 matches. It's just not that good. Like, they have they're a negative expected goal differential through that time period. Arsenal, on the other hand, their last 7 matches, they have a plus 13 expected goal differential. So, and they've only conceded 3.7 expected goals. So, I think the price is right, though, especially without Saka. Like, you can see Arsenal's obviously struggling without him, right? Like, yes, they scored 3 goals against Brentford. They scored 1 against Ipswich, but like, they truly miss him. Gabriel Martinelli on the right side of the pitch is just not working. I think they're waiting for Raheem Sterling to come back so they can play him on the right side. Played Nwaneri for periods over there, which he was pretty good. He's more of a central threat, though. So, yeah, I think the price is right. I know somebody asked me about the shot projections. Let's see. I had Arsenal projected for, and I'll eventually, if you subscribe to the Substack, I'll eventually get these put on the projections. I'll talk about when I'm done going through the Premier League here. I'll talk about what's on the horizon going forward for a bunch of content that I'm going to be doing. Arsenal 13.7 shots. Brighton 9.8. So, yeah, I was looking at potentially maybe putting an Arsenal shot number under, but their shot line is 13.5. So I have no interest in that. Celtic almost. Oh, that was close. That's halftime. All right. Yeah, Celtic almost got one off a set piece before halftime. I think he might have been offsides. Anyway, okay. So that does it for Saturday. I already did Fulham and Ipswich because I, of course, did a great job of going out of order here. So that leaves us with just one more match because we've already done United and Liverpool. And before I'm gonna talk about Wolves and Nottingham Forest. But if you have any Premier League questions before I move on and do Ligue 1 and Serie A, please put them in the chat and I will answer them. If they have prop questions or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer them. Wolves and Nottingham Forest, little Midlands derby. I like both teams to score no at plus 115. So I don't really see a route where Wolves is going to consistently create a lot of chances in this match. Matheus Cunha is out, which is a big loss for them. I know he's overperformed his expected goals like crazily. He has 10 goals off about four expected goals this season. But he is somebody that connects the play from defense to attack when Wolves is trying to build out. I included a screenshot and an example of against United, but he is the one that will drop deep, and typically Strand Larson, and if it's He-Chan Huang or whoever the other striker is that's playing with him, those are the ones who will stay on the last line of defense, and he's usually the one putting a lot of the direct balls up to them. So without him, Paulo Sarabia is also going to be out for this match. That makes it kind of difficult for how Wolves is actually going to break down Nottingham Forest slow block. I mean, Nottingham Forest this season has allowed 4 big scoring chances. 4. We are 19 matches into the season, and they may have only allowed 4. They're only allowing 1 non-penalty expected goal per 90 minutes. they're an incredibly difficult team to break down. So, and you can't beat them in transition either. They have great transition defenders. Like it's a very, very I like Nottingham Forest quite a bit. Like I think they're a really good team, and I'm debating whether to take them top 4 or if I'm just buying high on the market. You know what I mean? The other thing with Wolves is the last few matches, the 2 matches they've had under Vitor Pereira, excuse me. They have scored 4 goals. That's great. But that's been off of 1.6 expected goals. And it's very clear when they're out of possession that they're going to sit in a 5-4-1 and they're going to play passively. So the question is with 2 very passive defensive teams, if whoever decides is going to control more possession here, whether it's Nottingham Forest conceding more possession here to Wolves, which I think is the more likely case, how does either team consistently break them down? Like I like Nottingham Forest, but their offense hasn't been that good. They've been the most reliant team in terms of expected goals off of set pieces this season. 32.5% of their expected goals that they've created have come off of set pieces. Wolves have conceded 15 goals off of set pieces, but they're 4th in XG per set piece allowed. They've been very unfortunate in defending them. So previous meeting was 1.7 total expected goals created. It was a very dead match. 2 shots with an XG rating over 0.2. So I really like both teams to score no here at plus 115. You obviously, when you're betting that, you have the possibility of the 1-1 draw. But currently I believe the under is, let me see, the under's minus 110. I have 2.3 goals projected. So, I mean, you can play either, honestly. I just prefer both teams to score no, but I'd say under 2.5 or both teams to score no are both perfectly fine. All right, looking at schedules, Newcastle closed the gap 5 points, plus 250 for top 4. I'm already invested in Newcastle in top 4, so I'm not going to do it again. I will tell you this much, that if you subscribe to the Substack, I'm waiting for top 6 and top half odds to come out, but I'll give it to you here exclusively. Right now, I have Newcastle projected 23.8% based on my simulations to get top 4, which equates to plus 320. So I would tell you right now that there's not value in backing Newcastle to get to the top 4. And I will tell you generally in the futures market that Newcastle has been overvalued pretty much the entire season. So Bournemouth 7 points back for top 4. Bournemouth and Forest are the 2 teams that I am showing a lot of value on for top 4. And I would say if you want to play them, now is probably the best time to do it. I don't know if I want to necessarily get involved. Maybe I'm just too much of a coward. But I have I have Nottingham Forest based on my simulations at 2-1 for top 4. And I have Bournemouth at plus 572 for top 4. And again, for those who subscribe to the Substack, this will be coming out today, probably after I do this, because I'm pretty sure, let's see, last night when it was, 1 in the morning when I was trying to do this, there were no, they're available now. There was no available top half or top 6. So I didn't want to put it out without having those 2 available. So that'll come out so everybody can see that today. So yeah, that does it for the Premier League. Abbreviated slate in Serie A because of the Italian Super Cup, which I am projecting a little bit of value on Inter today against Atalanta if you want to play something there. Read a very interesting piece about how Inter is just beating people by not even dribbling and just passing, which is really good against Atalanta's man-to-man press, and that's how they actually beat them pretty badly earlier in the season doing that. So if you want to play something today, I kind of like Inter on the money line. For Serie A, the one match that I like, Venezia and Empoli, both teams score no at minus 110, 2 of the worst offensive teams. I mean, there's really Venezia is averaging 0.84 non-penalty expected goals per 90 minutes. Empoli is at 0.664. Both very transition-based teams. Both play 3-4-3s. Both like to, will defend with 5 at the back out of possession. Both teams really haven't been that good defensively, but that's because they give up a lot of chances to the better teams in Serie A. So I projected both teams to score no, minus 175. So minus 110. I think there's a lot of value on that. And Ligue 1, I like Nice here on Verona game. They are playing. Excuse me, I just forgot off the top of my head who they're playing. Nope, hang on. I need to go on my. There it is. There it is. Verona against Udinese. That seems like a dead game to me. I have 2.54, but I don't think. No. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think my voice sounds a little, even though I am sick, I think my voice sounds a little better than my other voice. I mean, I've said this many times before, but it's just a sidebar. I would never, ever go back and listen to episodes of Wonder Goal because I cannot stand the sound of my own voice. I think my voice sucks. So maybe this like deeper baritone type voice is more inviting for people. Maybe I should be have a sore throat more often. Okay. So yeah, that does it for Serie A Ligue on. I like Nice on Friday against Rennes. Jorge Sampaoli is back managing in France. He's my nemesis. If OG Wonder Goal fans will remember that Marseille, I think it was 21-22, I want to say, that season. And I looked it up last night. They overperformed like crazy, and they beat me so many times, and it just frustrated me to no ends. That was Sampioli's team that he managed. He's come back. He's gotten sacked by Sevilla. He's gone to Brazil, and now he's back in France. And my goodness, his team's offensive performances have been horrible. They put up 3.2 expected goals against Saint-Étienne, which is one of the worst defensive teams in France. The other 4 matches, or excuse me, the other 5 matches that he's been in charge, they have created 2.7 total expected goals. And I put an image in there in my Substack article. Their last match against Angers, who coming into, and I still think is probably, bottom 3 team in Ligue 1, they mustered 7 shots and 0.6 expected goals. I mean, how are they going to beat this Nice team? That's actually very good defensively. Now, I know Nice has a lot of injuries, but what is great about Nice, and this is something you just hang on, I need to pull them up because Nice actually is very deep in terms of who they have available in their attack and even in their defense, right? So, obviously, they are missing guys like, Mofi and Ndiaye and Morgan Sanson and Jonathan Klaus. But I would invite you today, if you're worried about Nice's injuries, I would invite you to pull up transfermarket.com, go to their team page, and see just how deep of a team they are. Because they are, and they even through all these injury-riddled periods, they are still very good. I mean, both their center backs pairings are available. And Ndiaye is obviously their best central midfielder, but they have Ndomile, Rosario, Boudoir. Like, it's very, very good. And then even if Mofi and Drain Boga are not available in their attack, well, they got Diop, they got Labadore, they have a lot of options that they can go to. So, yes, the injuries obviously are concerning, and that's probably why you're getting excuse me, my voice is losing my voice now. That's probably why you're getting a better price on Nice, but they've been incredibly dominant at home. +8 expected goal differential. They're a very good transition team, number 1 in final third of box entry conversion rate. And if you look at Rennes' results away from home, and even the underlying metrics, they are not encouraging at all. They have won the expected goals battle once away from home. It was their first match against Strasbourg when they lost 3-1. They got a red card halfway through the match, but they went to Nantes in their last away match, 0.4 expected goals. They go away to Lille, 0.2. They go away to Angers, 0.9. They get beat 4-0. They go away to PSG. They get hammered. They go away to Reims. They create 0.8 expected goals. Like this is a clear pattern of a team that just is horrible away from home. So I like Nice on the money line here, plus 125. So if you want something on Friday, I like that as well. Valencia and Real Madrid. Carlos Caraban from West Brom, new manager at Valencia. Very low block guy. Very, very passive low block guy. So kind of continuing on what Valencia was already doing. But I had this projected right around the market. I remember looking at it, and I don't see anything. In terms of La Liga, I want to explain this because I put out my simulations and I'm showing value on Atletico to win the title. And I want to explain my thinking of why I'm not playing it right this second. So Atletico is leading Real Madrid by 1 point. They're up. Let me pull up the La Liga standings here. They're up 3 points on Barcelona, I believe, with a game in hand. Their schedule coming up. They have I'm not gonna. Sorry, David. I don't have any. I've not looked through the championship yet, and I probably would be best for me to avoid the championship. Although, as I say yesterday, I mean Derby County, and if you look at the final XG from them, and especially the Coventry match, I'm a little unlucky. But Brock, yeah, I'll be on Enter today. How about that? I'll be on Enter today, everybody, against Atalanta. Yeah, Leeds fan. Leeds is too good for the championship, man. They're way too good for it. They're coming up. Don't worry. But yeah, I'm a little worried about. Gosh, what's his face? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of Leeds' manager who managed at Gladbach and Norwich. Farka. Yeah. Gosh, I should know that off the top of my head. That's bad on me. Yeah, I'm worried about him in the Premier League. Okay, so for Atletico, so they have a little bit of a favorable schedule coming up here. They got home Osasuna, away to Leganes, home against Villarreal, home against Mallorca. But on February 9th, they have the trip to, it's not a long trip, but it is an away match against Real Madrid. Okay. Real Madrid over their next few matches, Valencia, Mallorca, Las Palmas, Valladolid, Espanyol, and then Atletico Madrid. I think that there is a scenario where we get to February 9th and both these teams are kind of just sitting in the exact same positions that we were, right? And then we'll figure out what the result of that match is, right? Let's say Real Madrid wins it. Let's say they go 2 points clear of Atletico. I want you to read off Atletico's finishing stretch to the season. So they play Barcelona on March 16th at home. After that match, it goes Espanyol, Sevilla, Valladolid, Las Palmas, Vallecano, Alaves, Real Sociedad, that's at home, Osasuna, Real Betis, also at home, and away to Girona. That is an incredibly favorable schedule. So my thinking on it is I'm going to wait until after that Real Madrid match with that easy stretch that Atletico has to end the season, right? Even through the stretch, they get Barcelona, they get Bilbao at home, they get Sociedad at home, they get Betis at home. I'd say like Girona is really the only match, and obviously Real Madrid away from home are really the only two difficult matches. So I want to buy futures on Atletico. I'm going to wait until the February 9th match for that to happen. So that's that. So that's everything. Put your questions in the chat right now if you have any, and I'll kind of just go through what's on the horizon for what's coming up, both on the Substack and here on the YouTube. So first up here on the YouTube, probably same time next Thursday, will be weekend preview and big time FA Cup. I'm going to dive deep into the FA Cup. I think I love the FA Cup. It's obviously like one of the most unpredictable tournaments in the world, but I'm going to try to do my best to create projections. And the way that I'm going to do that, just so everybody knows, like I'm not just pulling this out of my, out of my butt. I'm going to use the theories that I have, or at least the mathematical formulas that I have that I use when I project out newly promoted teams, right? So typically what I'll do is I'll go through and I have all the expected goals results from how you did in the second division to how you did in the first division, right? And now that we have, a 10-year sample size for a lot of these, or 5 to 10 years, some leagues it's less, but especially for the Premier League, we have about a 10-year sample size of how much does your expected goal differential go down from what you did in the championship to the Premier League, right? We have a good sample size to be able to do that. So, and I'm able to do that from championship to League One. I got to go through and do it from League One to League Two because I typically don't project out those leagues. But using those along with the data, the numbers available to us at transfermarket.com, I can run formulas based on those numbers to get talent level adjustments. And I think we can get to, obviously using teams' actual expected goal results from the season, I think we can get to a decent starting point projection right now. As we know with these cup matches, though, is that the bigger teams typically tend to rest some of their star players. They don't, I'd say it's kind of changed over the years a little bit. I've noticed at least a trend that recently that teams will play a little bit more full strength lineups, and that's not always the case, obviously. But it's obviously an unpredictable tournament, and I'm going to work this weekend to try and get those and hopefully have them available on Monday to everybody. But we'll do a big stream, and I'll try to explain through everything as we go through. And that's mainly what I want to do with this, the YouTube and the Substack, is I don't want to be somebody that just like gives you out a pick and just says, okay, here's the pick. I want to be able to explain everything and my thinking behind it so that, you can question it, right? You can question my thinking. You can say, all right, maybe I don't agree with your thinking. Maybe I don't want to take that pick, right? But I want to be able to give you all the information that I have available to myself and, the way that I think about things. So, so that, hopefully it helps you make a better decision, and it helps you, obviously, well, the main goal of all this is help you, everybody, obviously become better at this and help everybody think for themselves, right? I don't want you to just be somebody that just like some drone that just says, hey, here's the pick and take it. Like I want you to question me because I'm not always right. So that's what's coming down for the FA Cup. That's going to take some time to do, but I think people will like that. I think it'll be fun. So we'll do that, and we'll do obviously the weekend projections and look through for Celtic is through. No. Okay. Offsides. All right. So yeah, we'll do that for the YouTube. Also, what's coming on the YouTube, this is fun. January 14th and 15th. I'm going to be live for, I don't know how long it's going to be, but there's midweek Premier League matches. I'm going to be live during them. You can get my reactions. You can see what it's like to actually watch a match with me, which I don't know if it's going to be entertaining or painful. I don't know. It's, but it'll be fun. We'll do some live bets. We'll hang out. We'll chat while it's going on. It's a pretty dang good slate both days. And on the Wednesday, this is even a more special treat for former Wonder Goal fans, is I have booked Anthony DeBundo for Wednesday, January 15th, which is the North London Derby. So that'll be a ton of fun. But pretty good slates. The Tuesday, it's Brentford City, Chelsea, Bournemouth, West Ham, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool. That's a great slate. And then even on Wednesday, it's not great. I mean, it's not the North London Derby is the headliner. And then you got Everton, Aston Villa, Leicester Palace, and Newcastle and Wolves. So yeah, that's what's coming down here on the YouTube. And then after those, I'll also do a live stream on, we'll try Monday morning might be the best, Monday or Tuesday morning. I think these morning ones work a lot better than the ones at night. But I'll figure it out. We'll do a live stream before those midweek Premier League matches as well. So that's coming on the YouTube. On the Substack, again, if I have put it in the description, the link, if you want to subscribe, all my projections are there. I'm going to work on creating projections for the FA Cup. Another thing that's coming down the line, I'm working on getting the Champions League tournament format simulated out so that we can, do simulations for the Champions League, Europa League, I think maybe even the Europa Conference League as well, to be able to evaluate those in terms of the futures market, which I think would be very valuable. I am working on that. That is a long process. And obviously we've been in I will do Conference League. I passed on the league format this year, and if I'm being totally honest with everybody, I didn't really trust the expected goals data from a lot of the smaller leagues. I just, when really the only resource that I have available to me, which I don't even really trust Y-Scout's expected goals model, but really the only one I had available to me for leagues that were not on FBref was footystats.org, which I'm sure people are familiar with. I don't really trust their expected goals model, but also it's the only one available, right? Like, I've seen some discrepancies between like what they do with the Premier League versus what Opta has. But again, I don't really have any other resources. So it's kind of just what we have to go off of. And it's generally from a projection standpoint been pretty close to the market. So I guess I kind of have to trust it. But in theory, Brock, I'm finding as I do this more and more that venturing out and doing a lot of teams that I'm not familiar with, or I don't watch or I don't project or watch on like a week to week basis, is that I just struggle more and I have worse results. So I generally am, now that I'm doing this on my own, I'm trying, obviously not yesterday at the championship is kind of a perfect example, right? Is a league I haven't really been paying attention to for much of the year, but there was a New Year's Day slate. I wanted to give people, a chance on some action. And in reality, I probably should have just stayed away and just said, you know what, I haven't been paying attention, or I should have waited a couple weeks, paid more attention to my projections, paid more attention, done more research on teams, and then done it. So as I'm doing this more and more, I'm just kind of learning that if I am unsure, or if I'm, if there's a lot of unknown on a lot of the teams, that I should just pass on it. And I know generally, people want action, right? So like that's the game that's the struggle that I kind of go back and forth on, right? It's just like, I want to be able to give people action, but also at the same time, I want to, the data be accurate and have myself have a good understanding of the teams. So that's why I don't do Conference League. I will put Conference League stuff out now that we are in the knockout stage and we have a little bit of data on some of the smaller league teams. So that'll be out. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at the schedule when they're actually playing. Do I do live bets? Not really. It's mainly just pre-match. Here's the problem with doing live bets and like the way that I do it. Doing it on the YouTube would be fun. Like, doing live bets like this, like if I were to put a live bet in for Celtic and Rangers, right? Because you could get the exact odds that I have right here. Even at action, like I very rarely put out live bets because, or later on in it, at least, is that because they're happening in real time, right? It's just very difficult for people to get the same exact odds that you did, right? And then there's obviously discrepancies of just like, oh, you're trying to inflate your record and all this. I don't really want to get into that. So it's just I just do pre-match now. When we do the live streams, we'll do some live bets. We'll have some fun, but yeah. So FA Cup, Champions League, Europa League simulations coming down the line for the Substack. Gonna do a deep dive on Mallorca. If there's any teams out there that you want me to do a deep dive on, please let me know in the comments. Oh, Celtic goal! Offsides. Can we look at that again? Oh my gosh. All right, let's take a look at that. Celtic almost had a little chip ball over the top. He's offsides. Darn. All right. So yeah. Basically going to be doing more. We'll see how these excuse me, mucus is clogging my throat. We'll do I'll do some more tactical breakdowns if people like those. I didn't do 2 this past week just because like the matches sucked. I I typically don't live bet that much, honestly. Only if I like truly like there's truly see something, I'll do it. But I typically don't just jump in live. I sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. But yeah, typically I'm just pre-match type of thing. So yeah, that is what's coming down the line, both the Substack and the YouTube. Again, thank you to everybody who has. Yes, Italian Super Cup preview. I told you I just told everybody that I like Inter today. I have Juventus and AC Milan projected pretty close. It's happening today, so I don't have time to write it up. But yeah, that's coming down the line for both of those. Thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the YouTube, that's subscribed to the Substack. It's been going all right so far. So again, thank you to everybody. And I will see everybody on next Thursday for another live stream. So until then, take care. God bless, and good luck with your bets.